There's a person sitting in the car in a parking lot 20 minutes early. The engine's off. They're just waiting. Maybe scrolling, maybe watching the door. Definitely not going in yet, because going in now would be too early, and they know it. But leaving any later was never an option. You probably know this person. The friend who's on your doorstep before you finished getting dressed. The colleague already in the meeting room when you turn up 10 minutes ahead of schedule. The relative who treats a 7 o'clock dinner like a 6:40 dinner. And maybe, if you're honest, this person is you. In this video, we're looking at the psychology of people who are always early. Because while it looks like a simple habit, what sits underneath it is surprisingly varied, and a lot more interesting than just being good with time. Start with the most ordinary explanation, because for plenty of early people, that's the whole story. Some of us are simply built to be reliable. There's a personality trait, conscientiousness, that runs high in certain people. Organized, dependable, the ones who keep the list, finish the thing, and show up when they said they would. For someone wired that way, being early isn't anxiety. It's an expression of values. Lateness would feel like a small betrayal of who they are, letting someone down, breaking a quiet promise. And there's a social layer on top of it. In a lot of cultures, showing up early sends a message that your time is respected, that this matters, that here is someone you can count on. The early arriver is often saying exactly that, on purpose. So before reaching for anything deeper, hold on to this. Plenty of early people aren't managing a fear at all. They're just keeping their word, a few minutes ahead of schedule. But for a lot of others, the early arrival is doing quieter work. Underneath it is one of the most basic things a nervous system wants: some control over what's about to happen. Walk into a room first, and you get to choose your seat, find the exits, clock who's already there, learn where everything is. You're not reacting to a situation that's already in motion. You're meeting it on your own terms. And for people who find uncertainty genuinely hard to sit with, that matters more than it sounds. Because here's the uncomfortable thing about anticipation. The not knowing is often worse than the thing itself. The stretch of time before an event, wondering how it'll go, whether you'll be late, what you're walking into, can be more stressful than the event ever turns out to be. Arriving early closes that window. It takes the long, anxious unknown and shrinks it down to a few calm minutes of waiting, on your terms, in a chair you chose. You can see it most clearly in the math. The meeting's at 10, the drive is 20 minutes. A relaxed mind leaves at 9:35. The early mind doesn't. It adds 10 minutes for traffic that might not be there, 10 more in case the parking's a nightmare, 5 to walk in, and one last cushion because something always goes wrong, and leaves at 9:05 for a 20-minute drive. From the outside, it looks like bad estimation. From the inside, it's insurance, because the cost of being late feels enormous, and the cost of waiting feels like nothing. And for some people, it isn't about threat at all. It's about readiness. They need a moment to land before the demands start. Going straight from the car into something that matters feels jarring, so the early minutes become a kind of airlock, time to let the body settle, take in the room, change gears, and arrive present instead of scrambling. There's a real difference between turning up ready and turning up reactive, and the early person is buying the first one. Two more, because the same behavior can come from almost opposite places. For introverts, arriving early is energy management, not fear. Walk into a party that's already roaring, and you have to find your footing inside the noise. Hunt for a familiar face while you're already overwhelmed. Slip into a momentum that started without you. Arrive before the crowd, and the whole thing is gentler. One conversation at a time. A quiet word with the host. A chance to settle into the space while there's still social fuel in the tank. And then there's the most counterintuitive group of all. People with ADHD. The ones famous for running late. A fair number of them overcorrect so hard they become the earliest person in the room. If your brain can't reliably feel time passing, you can't trust your own estimates. So some people stop estimating altogether and default to as early as humanly possible. 45 minutes early for a 10-minute drive. It can look like iron discipline from the outside. Inside, it's a workaround for a clock that doesn't quite tick right. And then there's a whole world where early isn't a personality at all. It's the standard, drilled in until it becomes identity. The military puts it bluntly: if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. Pilots run pre-flight checklists long before the wheels move, because in aviation, a timing error isn't an inconvenience, it's a catastrophe. Surgeons are scrubbed and ready before the patient is wheeled in. Athletes arrive hours before the whistle, not to kill time, but to begin. Warming up, walking through the performance in their heads, getting to the arena before the arena gets to them. Speakers turn up to an empty room to walk the stage, test the mic, and stand where they'll stand, so that by the time the audience files in, the space already feels like theirs. In all of these, arriving early isn't waiting for the event. It's the first move of the event. The preparation and the performance are the same thing. Of course, early has its own edge. Show up 45 minutes before a dinner party, and you don't read as reliable. You catch the host half-dressed with a cold oven, and now they're entertaining you instead of finishing. Most people quietly find very early arrivals a little stressful. The sweet spot tends to be closer to 5 or 10 minutes. And it's worth remembering this is partly cultural. In much of the world, time runs more loosely. A gathering starts when people are ready, not when the clock says so. And turning up exactly on the dot can come across as the odd move. Always early is most visible and most prized in the cultures that treat time as a straight line of fixed appointments. Somewhere else, the same person might just look like they haven't quite understood how the evening works. So being early is almost never really about the clock. It's about what the extra minutes protect. For some, it's certainty. The unknown shrunk down to something manageable. For some, it's calm, a buffer between the rush and the moment that counts. For some, it's readiness or respect, or simply the kind of person they've decided to be. Discipline, for one, a quiet anxiety in the costume of reliability for another, and often a bit of both in the same person. But notice what they tend to share. The early arriver is usually managing something invisible: nerves, energy, a slippery sense of time, and doing it ahead of schedule, off to the side, before anyone else shows up, so that when everyone else does, they can simply be there. There's something almost quietly generous in that. Do you know anyone who'd rather wait half an hour than be a minute late? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this video helpful, like and subscribe to catch the next one.